Hello. When we attach your cuff and lining to the cuff, the next part would be is attaching the rest of your lining to the sleeve. And the first thing we need to do is make sure our seam allowance, that seam and seam allowance are matching with the seam and seam allowance on your sleeve. So that seam, and if I just flip over, and the front seam is all matching together. So they're positioned together in the right place. So it's very, very important to do that. So when you've done that, so it's all in the right place. The next part I would like you to do, just about 10-15 centimeters above that seam, I would like you to pinch about 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters together. So we're going to create extra fabric. So we're going to fold that so we have in the length, so we're not getting or not using that fabric later. So that's need to be having, you need to have that extra fabric in your lining. So just continue pinning your, so just going to fold it that way so you can see better. So we pin that together. So 5-6 millimeters together. So obviously one is open, so will be about over 1 centimeter. Yeah, so pinch 5 millimeters there, 5 to 6 millimeters. There we go. The next part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack that line. So because if you leave so many pins, it's just going to be in the way. So that's very important that we're going to tack that. Just follow the line. There we go. And that way it's, you know, so it's not all the pins not going to be there interfering. Just to go around your sleeve. As you probably understand, we're only pinching your lining. We're not attaching or pinching your top fabric. It's only into the lining. Yeah, the extra amount. Okay. Which is you, again, you will need it that in order your lining sits properly. There we go. Okay, and secure. So later on we will take that off. Okay. Now, amazing. Again, check my position of the seam. So it's very, very important you do that. Okay, and then so this side, and make sure it's there. Now, the next part would be it's we're going to attach your sleeve actually and lining together. So just above that your tucking line. So I'm going to do that. Put your hand inside in that manner. Make sure your seams are matching. Make sure your lining is not pulling. So it's very important that you are doing that. And the first thing I want you to do is, it's from, you know, so when it's all lays flat, is attach your lining just along that. So make sure it's all lays flat, do not pull. So it's very important that you do not pull your lining. So as you see, it's all lays flat how it should be. Okay, so big stitchings like that. Again, different tailors do different ways. It's, you know, absolutely fine. It's what works for me. You also, it's another little advice for you, if you do finding difficult to do those tucking, you could tuck that on the seam first here, and then you could tuck along that seam first, so you know that lining, those sides, and if I flip it over, and the lining, this is flat and is attaches to the sleeve appropriately, and you're not pulling your fabric at all. Okay, so yeah, so you can attach that side first and then tuck that side and then tack around, so you can do that. So for me it was absolutely fine to do that, so because I just felt that, but as I said, please, you know, do tuck extra if you're thinking, actually I need it and I'm not sure what I'm doing and I don't want to pull my lining, you know, then you can attach in that area. So before we continue tucking your sleeve, so you need to open your sleeve that way. So yeah, so line, separate lining from the sleeve. So can you see that? So I opened it, flip over, and now what I want you to do is attach your seams to the seam, and then so just go into that. So that is along the elbow area. So we're going to just tap that together. So you go inside like that. See that? So just inside, just open your seam here like this, and just put your basting thread, you know, just tuck in like that with running stitch. That's all. Again, about 3-4 centimeters, no more. That's it. So that way, I'm just going to secure. Going to show you just seam allowance with the seam allowance. So lining seam allowance to the seam allowance of your top sleeve. So can you see that? Yeah, so that is inside your seam allowance. And the reason is when we're taking all the tucking out, you want your sleeve to be put in the position or holds in the position. You can do that exactly the same on that side. Some tailors doesn't do, they're only doing one side, but I do it both sides. So just to, you know, to keep tension. So going to and attaching my seam allowance with the seam allowance, just make sure it's obviously positioned in the same area, and just attaching it there. So you fold it, hold it together, okay, and just secure. Okay, 3 centimeters, that will do. And you cut that, can you see that? So I touched, so my marking, the tensions are, and I just attached that together. Okay, so that those stitches will stay inside. Okay, so then the next part would be, again, is marching your seam allowance together, which is the last part of your sleeve. Before we continue with the next part, is we're going to put the basting thread around the sleeve, which is closer to your head of the sleeve. And in that case, I'll just reverse it. So you have your head sleeve here, that side, and easy to get in. So you can see that. So that's your head of the sleeve, easy for you to get in. And again, match your seam allowance with the seam allowance. Sorry if you can see that. That's all marching together. So make sure it's nothing is that, and just going around the sleeve and leaving about 10 centimeters from the edge, 10 to 15 centimeters from the edge, and just with big stitches as we're done with that on your hand like that, and you just attaching your sleeve over. So don't go too close to your seam allowance, because remember we have to attach your sleeve to your armhole to insert that, and therefore you don't want to, you know, pick your tucking, and so you want to be able to access to your seam allowance. So we go around like that, and I'm going to show you how it will look. There we go, and now it's all and secure in that and there. So just going to show you what I've done. Perfect. So if you look how I've done, so just go along the sleeve like this. That sits perfect. In order also, so I can pull my fabric out of the way, my lining out of the way, like this. So it stays as well. I can attach my sleeve into the armhole, and then when it's all done, I can access to that area all around. So I can pull that all around. And then when it's all free, it's also will kept in the place of the sleeve. And then I can finish it off. When it's all finished, I will tell you when to take your tucking out. Perfect. So yours one should look exactly as my one. Okay. And sits, the lining sits absolutely perfect in all the way. Right. Okay. I see you next lesson, and I'll show you how to attach and slip stitch the bottom of the sleeve and your vent. Bye.